Okay, everybody, for those of you who don't know, my name is Michael Forrest, and it's quest time. Now, before we get going, I'm going to ask all of you to stay up off of this raised up platform here. This way nobody blocks the display. This includes the top of the speakers here, the top of the display, because that can be disruptive. But feel free to hang out or take selfies with or otherwise engage with or stand on Trump here. Because he doesn't mind. He's just there to hold my tools. People will try to take it away. Nobody's succeeded so far, but you are welcome to try. Now, if I can direct your attention to the top of your menu wheel, you're going to notice that there's a speaker icon or a microphone icon there, rather. And if this is clear and you can see through it, then we can hear you and what's happening in your environment. So, if, for example, maybe somebody comes into a room and asks you, are you still on that thing? That kind of thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to turn that to red. Now, once this is done, this means you're muted. And we won't be able to hear you. So if maybe you have a dog barking in the background, you're not going to face social ruin back at the campfire by becoming known as the avatar that started barking during go time, or maybe the avatar that started ringing because your phone went off. So yeah, you don't have to worry about that at all. Just because you're muted doesn't mean you can't interact. You're going to notice that you have a pink cheek smiley face in your menu wheel. When you click on that, your emoji panel opens up in front of you in the air. And it's going to give you a wide variety of options with which to express yourself. Like, so if I say something deep and meaningful and it touches you right there and starts to build up, you can just let it out, just let it flow. And maybe those hearts break the glass above me, right? Maybe some ninjas drop down. Maybe they're not ninjas at all. Maybe they're backup dancers and I break in their go time the musical. And you're very impressed. You can throw up the applause that I live for. It's like that. You can just throw up all those claps there. If I ask you a yes or no question, you can say yes by smiling. You can say no by frowning. If I say something funny and you want to show me that you think it's funny, you can use the tongue sticky out emoji as one. It doesn't roll off tongue calling it that, but I know one admin calls it that. I want to keep it going. What you can do also is you can raise your hand like this, but this is not how you ask your question. We will be taking questions and comments at the end. But if something goes wrong, you can use this to get my attention, like suddenly you can't hear me, or maybe you can't see the slides behind me. Speaking of which, show me some emoji. Can everybody see the pictures behind me? If you can see the pictures, we're good. You good? All right, I see nods. Nods are good. Body language is great. Awesome. Very cool. All right. So let's see. Let's get going now. Now Go Time is an event for Oculus Go users, but all are welcome. So if you're on another device, feel free to hang out because maybe you'll pick something up where, that can help the Go community that exists in Altspace. There's a lot of Go users in Altspace. As a matter of fact, the majority of users in Altspace are on a mobile device of some kind. And that's pretty cool. Now, what this is going to be particularly about is how the Oculus Go performs in Altspace. So if you're wondering why your Oculus room is always a mess, or maybe the Wander app isn't taking you to the places you always dreamed of, we could still talk about that stuff. It's cool. But for the most part, we're going to talk about how these devices perform in Altspace, because there are some things to get past. There are some challenges. And speaking about challenges, I've been in bed for about the past year and a half or so due to a medical condition. And so when I came into Altspace, I was super psyched. When I came in, got my headset, when I first put it on, that feeling like you're being taken away to another place, you're stepping inside of another reality. There's nothing like it, all right? And for somebody like me, it was a big deal. And I've been reading about Altspace for a while. And so when I first came in, the very first thing I did, I stepped out of the load screen, and the very first thing I did in Altspace was I looked up, all right? And I saw the sky, and it looked a lot like what I remember the sky looking like. And I said to myself, you know what? I was very grateful. I stared at it for like 5 minutes, and I started volunteering for Altspace pretty much right away to show my appreciation. And what happened was I started moderating events, right? And I didn't last through the events at all. My battery would fail before the event even finished. And I'd have to charge up, and I'd have to find the event host and explain why I flaked out, right? And I started looking for ways to improve my experience. That's where my journey in Altspace and helping Go users began. And they told me some things. I learned some things. They told me that I wouldn't be able to work the laser pointer, right, on an Oculus Go. And you know what? That turned out to not be true, right? I also was told that I wouldn't be able to work these slides here. And that also turned out to not be true. I was also told that my device wasn't reliable enough for me to host events. And that turned out to not be true, all right? And so all this misinformation told me that there was a huge disconnect between what the perception of what it was like to be on one of these devices versus the reality of that experience. Like people, thought one thing and it was actually another thing. And that's not to say there aren't problems being on the go. There absolutely are. And you know what? most of these problems can be solved, and the ones that can't can be managed. All right, and that's what we're going to show you how to do here today. Now, there's two paths you can take. You can work with the device you already have on your head. We're going to show you some stuff here today that you can do right now without even leaving the space. That's going to improve your experience. Also, you can upgrade your experience to exceed the limitations of your device. And if you've been here before, you know I can't stand this term. Fortunately, it's being used a lot less in Altspace. But you know what? When you hear this every day, right? It's like being told every day, "I don't like your shirt. I just don't like your shirt." Right? If you hear that every single day, you're going to start thinking it's not the shirt you don't like, right? You know, and you have to remember, if you hear something, words like one of the latest ones is a weaker device, a lesser device. If you're hearing stuff like this, just remind yourself a couple of things. One, the Oculus Go is a great introduction to VR. If it wasn't for the Oculus Go, I wouldn't be in here because I get dizziness and vertigo pretty easily. And the Oculus Go allows you to get used to that because you only have to worry about the 3 degrees of freedom. You don't have to worry about the up and down motion, right? And that can help keep you stable a lot. Another trick, if you do experience dizziness in VR, is you can look at your hand and just stare at your hand for a moment. And while you're looking at it, right, just focus on that. The dizziness will pass, and take the hand back away and take in the environment, and that'll help manage the dizziness a lot if you're new to VR and that's happening to you. But yeah, so you hear this, if you hear those terms going around, you have to remind yourself that you are not your device. Your device is the vehicle that takes you into VR, right? There's another word that gets thrown around Altspace a lot, and that's community. The community is made up of you, the individual. And as such, if you come in, if you come into VR, you have to remember that you are not your headset any more than you are your house or your car. It pays to keep that in mind if you see some of that device bias that can happen in here from time to time. Now, let's start with the device you already have on your head. All right. Now, you may not realize this, but your device loses power even when it's not in use. So let's say, for example, you put the headset down on a table at night and has 100% battery power. By morning, that is going to be lower. And the reason for this is because your device is checking for updates to the apps, updates to the firmware. Maybe it has a pen pal on the other side of the world. Maybe your headset has a whole secret life you don't know anything about. But, the reality is to be on an Oculus Go requires some advanced planning. Right. So if you go to the website and allvr.com and you look at the event schedule and you think, what am I going to do tonight? Right. Oh, I see there's that event coming up, Go Time. I've heard great things about the host. I heard he has fantastic hair. He's got these smart glasses and he's got this cool shirt that you're starting to see everywhere. Right. Well, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make sure you plug your device in about an hour before the event starts. Right. And this way you're going to be at 100% power when you come in. The closer you are to 100%, the better your device is going to perform. If your battery's down to about 20%, you're going to notice the screen is going to flicker and you're going to have more problems. But the closer it is to 100%, it's going to be, the more reliable it's going to be. And as such, that means it's your job to keep that battery topped off as much as possible if you want to have the best experience you can in here. Also, you're going to notice that occasionally when you first put it, when you first put on your headset, right, you've got 100% power, right? And then you put it on your head. And there's that button in the middle that you press to turn on. And don't do this now because you'll disappear and I'll feel like got a small crowd today. I want to keep you. But if you press and hold that button for like 4 seconds, all right, the device will, turn off, right? And you hold on to it and it'll reset, right? So about 4 seconds and you'll see 3 buttons appear in the air in front of you. All right, the middle button's going to say restart. You click on restart and the device will reset itself. And in this way, all those temporary files that's used while it's, making app updates, all these, it's going to clear out. I like to think of this as clearing your mind. All right, because it's going to wipe the memory out. It's going to put you in the best position when you come into Altspace, right? So you've got 100% power, you've cleared your mind, right, and you head into Altspace. And when you do, you may notice how important body language is in here, right? You'll notice, even if you're at an event like this and a moderator walks up to you and they're shaking their head back and forth like this, that means don't do that thing, right? Or maybe if you're on the stage, right, I'm going like this and I'm moving my hand like this, saying, get off my stage. But the thing about an Oculus Go is occasionally you're going to notice that your controller, your hand, right? You're going to notice it doesn't match where your hand is in the real world. Like your real world hand might be here. What is this you're doing here? You're threatening me while I'm performing. That's not nice. Okay. I'm not sure what you're saying. I will be taking questions at the end, but I don't appreciate those kind of gestures like that. Wow. That's really creepy. Okay. Got to remind everybody, I'm not being paid to do this. Okay. So be nice. All right, so let's see, where was I? That really kind of threw me off there. Yeah, okay. So yeah, what happens is your body language, your hand may be here in the real world, but your avatar's hand might be here. So when I go to the edge of the stage and I go, get off my stage like that, right? What's going to happen is you'll see what you're going to go when you go like this, right? In the real world, my hand is going like this. but in Altspace, my hand's going like this, and it may look like I'm saying, "Hey, welcome to Go Time. Hey, everybody," right? And so what you can do to reorient your hand, right, is if you're looking straight ahead, right, you're going to notice there's two buttons on your controller on the bottom, right? You got your thumb pad, and you've got these two buttons right below. This now, and don't do this now, right, because you'll disappear and I'll feel it. All right, but if you press this bottom button here, it's like an eject button. It's going to take you out of Altspace, and there you're going to have a choice to exit the space. You're going to be able to quit, or you're going to be able to resume, right? But if this button does something else, if you press and hold that for like 3 seconds while looking straight ahead, and this you can try. So if you look right at me and hold your hand out, kind of where the pointer is right there, like so, you hold the hand out like this, and you look straight ahead, and you press and hold that bottom button, you're going to see a white circle spin in the air, and when it does, your hand is going to snap right into place. And when it does, I saw somebody just did it there. Good job, Monster. That was cool. All right. So what you do now is if you look at your hand now, you ask yourself, is that where my hand is in the real world? Right? If it's not, just do it again. And do it again until it feels comfortable. Only you can determine what's comfortable for you. All right. And when it's comfortable, you're going to find that your body language is a lot more convincing. And this is actually going to affect your relationships in Altspace. All right. Because when you can express yourself more fully through body language, it's going to allow you to connect more deeply with people, with your friends and everything. And so, yeah, actually, let's see. So now another thing that can happen is when you're in Altspace, you're going to notice that your menu may move around from time to time. All right. Sometimes you can't even reach it. Like your menu wheel may end up going behind you or something. But don't worry. You always have your menu in your hand in Altspace. All right. And the reason for this is because as an Oculus Go user, you have an advantage. And that advantage is just below your trackpad is a button. It's right over here. Right. And when you press on that, your main menu is going to open. And if you press it again, your main menu will close, right? But this does something else. If you find that you can't reach your main menu and your menu wheel is maybe, because normally it's supposed to be, you have your menu wheel on the left side and you have your avatar in the middle, and any space buttons like raise hand or host tools or world builder is going to be on the right-hand side with your avatar right in the middle. And when these move around, you can feel a little bit off balance, okay? And when you feel off balance like that, well, what can happen is, you'll get like maybe, just a little, you feel like kind of leaning like there, like maybe it's happening to Ryan right there. So what can happen when that occurs is if you do this and you look straight ahead and you press your menu button and then press it again, the one on your controller, right? Automatically, when you come out and that menu closes, if you're looking straight ahead when that happens, your menu wheel will be right where it's supposed to be. Right? This is a way where you can get a little bit more comfortable. I gotta be honest with you guys, I got a little thrown off by that whole gesture thing that person was doing. That was really, that's really, I'm sorry for everybody. That's really throwing me off. One of the best pieces of advice that I got when I first came into Altspace and I started working on this stuff and I started trying to find solutions. One of the best pieces of advice I got was somebody told me to turn my brightness down and my battery would last longer. And I started there, but I didn't want to because I wanted to have the best graphic experience I possibly could have in Altspace. And to me, that meant having my brightness turned way up, right? So, the brightness is turned, if it's turned way up, right? I thought to me that meant I was gonna have good graphics. So it was like at retina burning levels to the point where it's like almost kind of painful. So on your Oculus main menu on the right-hand side, you have your settings, and there toward the middle you have display, and or your brightness rather, and you're gonna see this big blue bar. So every time I came into Altspace, I turned it down a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more until finally brightness was completely off, right? Once the brightness was completely off, I came into Altspace and I couldn't believe what I saw. There was this event space that we used to go to where we used to have these AltspaceVR 101s at, and there was a tree there. And under this tree, I learned how to moderate. And I looked at that tree and it looked so real. The graphics were like never better. It was incredible. So do yourself a favor, turn your brightness all the way down. You're going to have better graphics. Your device is going to experience better performance. But you know what? Most importantly, all right, your battery power is going to last longer. And when I did this, I started to make it through entire events. All right. Now, also, Go users have a bad reputation in Altspace because our microphones are very sensitive. The sound comes out through the straps, they get picked up by the microphone, and it gets projected out through your avatar. The only thing is you can't hear your avatar in Altspace. You can't hear the sounds that you're making, so you don't know. You could be walking in the campfire and you'll see a group of avatars talking over there, right? And you're just walking up to them to see what they're talking about. And maybe you're new, right? And all of a sudden they turn and they look at you, right? And they look right at you. And then they go, "Are you want to go? Are you want to go?" It doesn't feel too good. It's really off-putting when that happens. And you know what they're experiencing is off-putting too, because they're over here and they're talking to their friends, they're hanging out, and while they're hanging out and they're all talking, right, what happens is all of a sudden they hear a voice, and they're like, "Hey, I know that voice," and they turn around and they realize it's them. they recognize their own voice coming out of your avatar. It can be really unsettling. And with that sound delay, right, if they're hearing the voice as it was in the past, and it can really throw people off, right? What you can do to make this a better experience for yourself and them is you'll notice on the top of your headset, on the left-hand side, there's 2 buttons. Those are your volume buttons. And when you press either one of them, you're going to see these vertical bars appear in the air in front of you. Some are going to be solid, some will be clear. What you're going for is you want to make sure that there are 4 clear bars on the right-hand side. This will set the volume at a level where the microphone's not going to be able to pick up the sound as easily, right? And you're going to find people are going to start being nicer to you pretty much right away. However, this comes at a price. You may start straining to hear people, but I want you to remember, all right? You know that one hand that Altspace gives us just to keep it fair, right? Well, you still have that left hand in the real world, right? And what you can do is hold up that left hand to your ear. And if you try this now, put your left hand up to your ear, right? As I'm speaking, and you're going to hear my voice gets louder, right? And the microphone still won't pick it up. That's a great way to hold on to that. Now, another thing you can do is you can wear headphones or inexpensive earbuds. Matter of fact, my wife went to the library once. She got this audiobook, and they gave her these free earbuds for free, free earbuds. And she brought them home, show me. And unfortunately, they disappeared. And good news, they reappeared a short time later, attached to my headset. They remain there to this day, right? So that worked out, pretty well for me. And after that, the only voice coming out of my avatar was my own. And occasionally you'd still hear, my wife coming in and saying, "Hey, are you still on that thing?" Right? I fixed that too. I got her own headset, and now she's in Altspace with us, and she's a really great moderator, and she's a very gifted world builder, and we're lucky to have her here. Really great stuff. So yeah, you do these things, and it will improve your experience a lot. There's something else you can do, because once I added the earbuds to my device, I started thinking, what else could I add to my device to make my experience better, right? So what I did was I came up with what I call a Go Plus experience. And what a Go Plus experience is, I call it this because it was like no longer like having a regular Go. Because I would go into worlds that were heavy, like very heavy, and you'd see other Go users crash. You see them disappear, or you'd see them disappear into the floor, as their devices crashed. And what happened was that I would remain. And yeah, I like it a little choppy here and there, but I would remain in Altspace. And I found I was lasting longer where other people couldn't. And it was because I did these things I'm about to discuss. And to discuss these things, I'm going to have to talk about these products that are up here. But before I do, I want to say that these products are not the only products that work. All right. It's the ideas behind these that work. So if you want to try something else, try something else, and you may have a better experience. But these are just the products I've used, so I feel comfortable talking about them. If you'd like to try any of them, they're super easy to find, because I know the temptation is going to be to write them down. You can't. It's difficult to write things down in VR. So what you want to do is you will if you go to altvr.com, right, and you log into your account there, you're going to see at the very top where it says events, right next to that's the word channels. At the very bottom of that list, you're going to see Ravenhall events on the back channel, like it says on the last page, like it says on the balcony up there. And when you go there, you're going to see all these products listed on the left-hand side, and you can check those out and feel free to use them. You could also join our Discord, which is great. You can help us put on events like this if you want to be involved. Also, at the very top of the page is the subscribe button. If you guys press the subscribe button, really, it makes us feel good. Every time that number goes up, it makes my day. It lets Altspace know that you appreciate our content. And it's just really, it's the best when you guys do that. So I would appreciate it if you can press that subscribe button while you're there checking this stuff out. Now, what these devices do is you have the Anker Power Core battery pack. Now, Oculus says that it's not a good idea to use our devices while they're plugged in, but they say it is okay to use an external battery, right? And I figured, with me having the power issues, I would start there. Now, this battery is supposed to last 16 hours, and I didn't think I'd ever need to stay in VR for that long because, well, sleep is a cool thing. I've heard good things about that, food, water, stuff like that. You figure you'd eventually have to come out, right? But at the same time, it has 2 USB ports, and I thought that was good because I'd heard a lot of people were having problems with the devices not charging properly anymore. And I think the reason for that is if you notice when you plug in your device, how tight that cable is, right? And all that wear and tear, I thought was going to loosen the connection so it wouldn't charge as effectively, and I wanted my device to last for a while. So what I did was I got this MagSafe cable. That's the second product here. And this MagSafe cable, it's really cool. One of the tips plug into your headset, right? And the other end plugs into the battery. And there's a magnetic tip that holds it in place. So when you're in VR too, it's really cool because if you turn your head and it gets, the wire gets pulled on, it's not going to pull your headset down off of you. What it's going to do is it's just going to fall off because it's just a magnet. And what you can do is then pick up the wire. You don't even got to come out of VR to fix it. You hold it up to the side of your headset, and it'll thunk right into place. It makes a cool sound. And if your microphone's open, people are going to say, "Hey, what was that?" And you're going to be like, "That's power. That's what that was." Right? So the other device you have here is once you start using these 2 products here, My power issues were over, but they presented a new problem. Like my battery started lasting, I started lasting longer. I made it through entire events, and I found out that people hung out after events. I didn't know that. But then I found a new problem, and some of you have probably experienced this: overheating. Right now, the overheating issue. Yeah, I see nods. Right? Yeah, it's not fun. The overheating, it happens at the worst time too. Like right when you're just starting to have a good time, that's when that warning kicks on. Yeah, exactly. It's beatable. Now, I've heard people say they put like ice packs on the faceplate, and I don't think it's a good idea. Now, listen, the faceplates are installed by hand. And as such, everybody has different results. Some people overheat like every half hour. Some people, lucky few, never overheat at all. And some people, like I heard of one person that overheated every 2 minutes. Somebody else that when it came to one of the first go times said that the side of the headset actually melted and it became dented by how hot it got. Right. So it's a real problem and it scared me. So I wanted to solve this problem. And I knew somebody that was using the ice pack and they went through two headsets, right? Because I think the condensation and it being on your face and electricity, I don't think that's a good idea, right? But what is a good idea is this AC Infinity fan. It's a USB, so it plugs right into that battery, right? It's a mini fan. It's small. It fits right in the palm of your hand, and it's whisper quiet, right? So you want to put it so that the shiny silver part is facing your faceplate, right? And then you got to figure out a way to attach it. For me, I found that my wife had these two large hair bands, right? And they suddenly went missing, but good news, they reappeared on the headset, remain there to this day. I put them on the straps, and I put the other end in a form of an X wrapped around these rubber feet here, right? And then, I felt like, if you like Star Trek at all, I felt like a Borg. I had all these wires coming up the side of my head, and I came into Altspace to moderate the meditation event. And if you've ever been in a meditation event, you'll see that it's like on top of a mountain, there's fog, and there's like sunlight coming down through the fog, and there's like these smoke coming out of these bowls. It's an amazing space. When every time I was there to help moderate, I only lasted 20 minutes before I got the heat warning. 20 minutes exactly every time. So when my fan arrived, I figured this was a great way to test it. So I went to the event, and 20 minutes in, right, before it started, I asked the host, I went to Jeremy, super nice guy. I went up to him and I said, can you hear my fan at all? And they said, not at all, no. Right. So I put it up to medium, and on medium, I said, can you hear it now? He says, I can hear it a little, but it's not too bad. And then I put it up to the top, high setting, the third one. And once it was on high, right, he goes, before I could even ask, he goes, oh, I can definitely hear that. It sounds like you're in a wind tunnel. And I'm like, okay. So I turned it all the way down to low, and I never had to turn it up again. And this is what happened on the low setting. 20 minutes came and went, and in the 20 minutes, I didn't overheat at all, right? The event finished, and I didn't overheat, not once. And so I wanted to see where the limit was. So I went to another event right after. And at that event, I didn't overheat at all. I went to another event. It's 3 events in a row. I wish I could hold up 3 fingers at a time. That would be cool. 3 events in a row, and I didn't overheat once. And then I went to my home space. I hung out with some friends. And then for the very first time, I left Altspace because I was tired, right? Not because I ran out of power, not because I overheated. I left Altspace because I actually wanted to. Right. And it was the first time that ever happened, but it wouldn't be the last. And after that, I got super involved. I was moderating all over the place. I was hosting events, and I was just really kind of all over in Altspace. And it was just a completely different experience. And I can't recommend doing it enough. All right. Now, let's see. Let's see. Now that being said, there still were some issues. All right. And these are more of experiences than they are like problems, and they are manageable. First one I'm going to talk about is so let's say I'm in the campfire and I'm hanging out with my friends, right? And I go to say something to Fire Bros for Life over here, right? I turn to the left and I go to say something to him, but instead of turning left, I go straight, right? And then I go to say something to Daver here on my right, and instead of turning right, I go straight, right? Now I'm starting to panic a little bit because I can't see them anymore, and I go to back up, right? I press it backwards, I press down on the controller, but instead of backing up, I go straight again. I start panicking, I start pressing all the buttons, and I just keep moving straight whatever I do. And the next thing you know, I'm standing right inside of an admin. There's nothing more frightening than standing inside of an admin. I saw things. I saw the past. I saw the future. I saw things I can't talk about. But what I can talk about is how you can manage this experience. And the way you do this is you take your thumb, right, and very gently, without pushing down, right, like kind of just glide it right over the trackpad from left or to right or right to left, doesn't matter. You just swipe it right across. And as soon as you get to the other side, you want to lift that thumb up into the air, cross it over to the other side, and come down and swipe again. And then do it again. Swipe. So do it quickly. It's swipe, 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 right? And then put your finger down and push down in a direction that you want to go. And you're going to find that you're moving in the ways you want to. And after a while, this will become a reflex. But yeah, that missed movement thing is kind of a pain, but that is absolutely how you manage it. Because of the touchpad, it's sensitive. to heat, it's sensitive to moisture, and it's also, of course, since it's a touchpad, it's sensitive to touch. And that's a quick way to reset the touchpad. Now, another thing that's going to happen occasionally is you are going to be in a rush to get into Altspace because maybe you're hosting an event, maybe you're moderating an event, right? Or maybe you have a date or something like that. I heard that could happen in here. No judgments, right? But for one reason or another, you need to get into Altspace in a rush, and you put on your headset, and you're going to see a message that says "can't find a controller." Right? Now, this can happen when you don't have a battery in your controller, right? But you put a fresh battery in there last night. But for one reason or another, your controller is no longer speaking with your headset. Maybe your controller found out about your headset's secret life, right? And it's not happy about it, all right? And they're no longer talking, all right? Now, the way you fix this, you don't even have to take your headset off to fix this. It's really simple. The two buttons that are on the bottom of your controller, right below the trackpad, what you want to do is if you press and hold those buttons down together for about 4 seconds, what's going to happen is a little white light is going to appear at the top of your trackpad. Now that little white light, you're not going to see it if you're wearing your headset, but what you will see is when you lift the thumb up off of those buttons, you're going to have your hand back. And then you're going to go right into that load screen. You're going to be heading into Altspace. And while you're in the load screen, you're going to be like, man, I'm glad I went to go time. I remember to push those two buttons down, and I got there, I got to my event on time. And you can remember it by remembering the term double down. That's what I call it. Double down, and you'll get right back. You'll be on time. All right. So try to remember that if you ever lose your controller. All right, now another thing that can happen is occasionally while you're in Altspace, see you have your hand going up there, Tony the actor. We'll be taking questions at the end, okay? So we'll just, if you can wait for that, that would be cool. All right, so what's going to happen here is occasionally your screen is going to go dark when you're in Altspace. And the reason for this is because everyone here in this room, right, your headset is using up the memory, right? So all the avatars that are here are in your headset right now. So after this event, like even these speakers right here, that's in your headset. This display, this slide, it's in your headset. The moon up there over the display, that's in your headset. Matter of fact, you may not be thinking about go time at all after this event. You may go to the campfire and be hanging out with your friends around. And while you're there, right, what's going to happen? What's this? Where are we going? Charcoal's mark. Okay, that's not cool. You shouldn't open portals in events, by the way, if you didn't know that. That's not cool to do. But yeah, so you're in a campfire, right? And you're not thinking about go time anymore, but your headset still is. Right now, Shrub is living rent-free inside your headset, all right? He's in there, and when you leave, he's coming with you, right? And what's going to happen is when that memory fills up, your screen can go dark. Now, Altspace has made a lot of improvements where this happens a lot less, but it still can happen. And the way that you do this is by getting ahead of it before it happens. So let's say that this event's over, and like you're going to, so you turn to your friend, hey, how'd you like it? And your friend goes, oh, he was amazing. Did you see his hair? That shirt, oh, the shirt was so great, it was so dynamic, I loved it. And then you go, okay, don't get carried away, what do you want to do now? And your friend goes, well, let's go to the campfire. We'll go hang out there. And you go, okay, cool, I'll catch up with you in just a minute. Right? That's all you got to say. Then all you have to do is press on that bottom eject button on your controller. You press on that eject button, you press quit when it asks you whether or not to quit or resume, and then you restart the app, you come in on Altspace, you open up your main menu, see where your friend is, you hit go to. The whole process takes less than a minute, right? But you will have cleared the memory out of your headset. And once your memory is cleared out of there, you're going to get that dark screen a lot less, which is really great. Okay, so let's see here. Now, I'm going to talk about the world building if you like, but I am about 2 minutes over on time, unfortunately. So if you guys are interested in that, would like to hear me, show me some emojis and I can run through it. If you're not, we can jump right into the questions. Okay. All right. Well, it seems like you want it. Okay. So what's cool is I moderate for the world building event every week. And when I'm there, sometimes I hear Oculus Go users saying they can't build worlds on the go. And it's simply not true. These devices are capable of remarkable precision. All right. There's a lot of really great worlds in Altspace that have been built on an Oculus Go. At the end of this event, we take everybody flying and to Ravenhall Flight Academy. And if you've ever been there, you should know that that world was built in less than 2 days on an Oculus Go. All right, and I leave it like that primarily so people can see what's possible on a Go. Also, there's a teleporter there to Lake Ravenhall, and that took a lot longer than 2 days to build. It's a huge world. It's very detailed, but it was also built on an Oculus Go. And there are many, many, many worlds to see in Altspace that were built on a Go. But why do people think you can't build on a Go? The reason for this is when you mess with the world editor and you try to build worlds with the editor and you go to grab an object, that object's going to start moving all over the place. And it may take you a while, but eventually you're going to hit a point where you realize that it's your head that's moving the object. And I don't know about you guys, but it's really hard to keep a level head in any reality, let alone a virtual one, right? Now, what you want to do is if you go into the world editor, you can press on lock rotation. And when you press on lock rotation, what's going to happen now, right, is now when you point at an object to edit that object, If you squeeze and release the trigger one time quickly, right, now you'll be able to move your hand around to, adjust the rotation of the object. And when you get it where you want it, you squeeze and release that trigger one more time, and it'll lock it into place. Now, if you press and hold the trigger in place without letting go, now you can move the object up, down, left, and right. All right. Also, if you swipe your thumb across the trackpad from left to right, you'll change the size or the scale of the object. If you swipe your thumb up and down, right, what's going to happen is it's going to push the object away or bring it closer to you. Or you can hold on that trigger and carry the object where you want to put it. So let's say that we want to put this laser pointer here, right? Let's find a place to put it. We're going to put it on this railing right here, right next to the hummingbird. We're going to put that right there, right? And yeah, that looks good. The only thing is, if this were the real world, that would be on the ground right now, right? It's not really a good spot. But on an Oculus Go, you don't have to get it perfect. You just have to get it close enough. Now from here, we would go into the world editor. We'd look for the laser pointer on the list. And next to the word laser pointer, you'd see a cogwheel. You press on that cogwheel and that's going to open up a panel. And on that panel, there's going to be all these numbers. And these numbers are going to have numbers for rotation. There's going to be a number for the position. And what you want to do is you want to play with these numbers to adjust them by small increments. So let's say that the Z axis says that it's at 20, and we change it to 19, right? So let's see what happens. We put in 19, and when we press enter, right? Now the laser pointer jumps down over here, right? And when it jumps down right about, let's see, it jumps right about there, right? Now we know if we lower that number down, right? Anytime we lower that number, it's going to move in that direction toward the display screen over here, right? Or likewise, if we raise that number, it's probably going to move that way toward that back wall, right? So, and in doing this, the next object that I place in the space, I know, right, that when I adjust the location on stuff, it's going to, go in directions that I want it to. And I know that little keyboard they give us to message each other in here and to adjust things like this, right? Pecking it out with one hand, it can be kind of like, it's a little bit difficult. But the truth of it is you ever play like a video game and the first day you're playing it, you're thinking about how the controls work, right? Which button do I press? What do I do? But after a week, you're not thinking about that anymore, right? What you're thinking about is, how am I going to save the world, right? Or how am I going to crush my enemies? That's a great way to spend a Wednesday, But what you can do is, what I'm saying is that you're eventually going to get used to it. And the more you do it, the faster you get at it, right? It gets quicker and quicker, and these skills build on one another, all right? So that's important to remember when world, and that'll actually help your experience by a lot. Okay, now we are going to be taking your questions now. Just a reminder, if anyone's on Twitter and they want to follow us, they can find us at Ravenhall at __Uncanny Valley. That's actually 2 underscores. I know it looks like 1. And yeah, please subscribe to our channel. We used to have a survey, but that's been broken for a while now. If anybody has learned anything new here today that they didn't know, so I know to keep this event going, sure, show me some emojis if you've learned something today at all. All right, cool. I'm hearing the pops, but I'm not actually seeing it. There we go. Oh, cool. All right, awesome. That's good to know. Oh, cool. Wow, cool. All right, so I'm going to keep on going with it. All right, now, if you have any questions, what's going to happen here is you're going to see a raised hand appear on your lower right, as if by magic. There it is. You should be seeing it now. And if you press the raise hand button, this will allow me to see your name on the list. I see Fire Bros for Life has a question, and there's where I get to feel like a radio announcer. I say, Fire Bros for Life, you're on the air. You have a question? What's going on, Fire Bros?
How much does the thing cost, the USB fan?
Oh, that's a good question. The USB fan actually is ridiculously cheap. All right. You can have it for about $10 US. All right. So it's very inexpensive. The most expensive thing on there was the battery. That's about $60, $70 US, but they come in different sizes. Anker is a great company. They make a lot of different battery packs that you could use. And the MagSafe cable was about $7 US, if I'm not mistaken. But none of it's very expensive, and it's a shame we have to add these to the device. I personally feel it should come with it. They should, have a means for, right? Because that whole thing with the person whose headset actually melted from it, that's just, I don't like that story myself. But yeah, but it's very inexpensive, and it is a great solution. There's a hand going up there from Annaboo54. Let me see if you are on the list. I'll take you now. No, I see Mr. Fudge though. Annaboo, you want to see if you can raise your hand up there? Put the raise hand button on the lower right, and I'll see your name appear. Mr. Fudge disappeared, so let's see. Panel's kind of disappearing there. There we go. I see you. All right, now you're on megaphone, so we should be able to hear you. You're on the air.
Yes. Can I buy all 3 of those from Amazon?
Actually, all of the links that are on our event channel, all the links actually, I believe they do go to Amazon. I think there may be 1 or 2 there that don't. but I believe they all are on Amazon. So yeah, you shouldn't have any problem. And if they're not, what you do is just take the name, like follow the link and follow the name of the product, or there'll be a product number there, and just do a Google search for that, and take the result that comes up on Amazon, or search on Amazon directly for the name of that product. The one for the fan is AC Infinity Mini Fan. You can search directly there. Let's see. Now we have time for one more question because we are over on time a lot. I see that. Let's see. Bernardo da Vinci has a comment or question. Bernardo, where you at? Let's see. Hey, what's up? How'd it go?
Hey,
What's the question?
you're very informative. You know a lot about this, and I know earlier you made a comment sarcastically. I mean, you're not going to be in here 16 hours on this thing, but how much time had you spent to learn so much in a short distance of time? It's amazing how much you know
That's a
in depth
great
on these things.
question. That is a great question. You know what? And honestly, when I first started out, when I was when I was trying to host the AltspaceVR 101s, when they got to the question period, anytime there was a Go question, they turned to me, and they kept saying I was a Go expert, and I didn't really believe that. Right? But I did have the answers to the questions, and what it was is I solved every problem I had with the Go one at a time. I just focused on finding that one solution. Between that, I mean, all I really learned, I basically learned from Google. And as for how long it took, it was just like 1 week after another and just showing up. And I think the longest I've ever spent in Altspace has been maybe a few hours straight, at a time. But like I will spend a lot of time on the Discord, answering questions and stuff. And people, more often than not, they're going to ask the same kinds of questions, and you build on that. So eventually you just end up collecting all the information. And then once I found out about the fan, like the whole Go Plus experience, right? I was psyched, and I started sharing it with everybody that I could find. I told all my friends that were on Go's like how to solve their overheating problem. Somebody like, my face is melting, or I just crashed. What do I do? And I would explain what I did. And I found that I kept hearing more and more people were having these problems, and I wasn't reaching enough people. So I figured the right thing to do was just have an event. So this way I'd be able to reach a larger audience, right? As a matter of fact, we're going to be putting these up on YouTube soon, so that people who are in the international community who can't make this time slot will be able to see it too. And maybe they can solve some of the problems that they have in Altspace also. So yeah, that's basically how that went. All right, everybody. If anybody would like to learn how to fly, the way we usually wrap these things up is by going up this ramp here, right? And going through that blue light at the top into the load screen coming out the Ravenhall Flight Academy. But before we go, I see people going up already. I'd just like to say, if you've learned anything here at all today, right, please share it with the people that you come in contact with. So if you're in a campfire and somebody says, I'm overheating all the time, help me, what do I do? Tell them about where to find the fan. Tell them about Go time. And help each other. That's how we keep this thing going in Altspace. So share what you've learned and come fly with us. And thank you everybody for joining us today. Really, really enjoyed doing this. And thank you so much for coming. And I'll see you all next time. Feel free to try to carry my laser pointer around, if you'd like. All right, everybody. I'll see you next time.